Well, good morning and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. We trust that you are well this glorious Friday. And it is a glorious Friday. Um, some things have happened. Things are moving forward. Now, what this is going to really require is a lot of unity and a lot of prayer. I mean, I'm just going to tell you straight up because we've been all about that here since the beginning. Uh, Today, here on Friday, October 27th, Israel has expanded its ground operations in Gaza. The IDF has been conducting more raids into northern Gaza, laying the groundwork for the impending invasion, which will blessedly bring an end to Hamas, the brutal terrorist organization that murdered over 1,200 Israelis on October 7th. Now, here's the deal. Unlike the United States, that has the advantage of distance. It has the advantage of expanse. It's big. It's really big. So as hard as 9/11 was, because it had to happen in according to the terrorists, it really needed to happen in the largest city um, on the planet, basically. And how it hurt people in their heart across the nation is very, very real because that was part of it. Um, I don't know if you get the same reaction if this happens in a place like Cincinnati, or this happens in the Jacksonville, Florida, or Bangor, Maine. But New York, it's iconic. It meant something, and the sad part is that New York has been the most welcoming place to foreign visitors in the country ever. That's what the Statue of Liberty is. That's where Ellis Island is. It brought more people of differing faiths and nationalities into this country than any other place in the United States history. So it means a lot to people, even though you've never visited. Even though now you plan on never visiting, it still means a lot to the heart of the nation. So we had some time to act after 9/11. Israel is in a different situation. Israel has had constant rocket attacks for decades at this point, decades. But this particular act wasn't that. When you have people flying ultralights into a concert and mowing people down, just shooting people randomly, and then landing and raping people next to their dead friends, that's an act of terror. That's not a reaction to occupation and all this other stuff we're hearing. That is an act of terror. Interesting how people are asking for Israel to have a measured approach to this. There's nothing measured about getting it on ultralight and mowing down innocent people. People didn't have anything to do with your concerns. Oh, and then hopping off your ultralight and raping women next to their dead friends so they get the message. That is not a measured attack. That is terror. That's an attack, an act of war. And Hamas is going to learn that. The saddest thing ever that Hamas is holed up in Gaza, and because they don't play by anybody's rules. They're not out there in uniform. There's no rules of engagement. I think that's part of what our Western mentality is. There are no rules of engagement. This idea that you don't attack hospitals. What if the enemy is hiding in a hospital? What if they're shooting rockets off the roof of a hospital? What if the terrorists are hiding in the hospital, waiting to plan their next attack? Do the rules of engagement still apply? Well, part of the rules of engagement is that you don't hole up in hospitals, that you don't hole up in mosques, that you don't hole up in schools, that you don't use innocent, non-combative people as human shields. That's the rule of engagement that obviously Hamas and Hezbollah don't go by. They don't play by these rules. They don't play by these international rules. They do not. And you know who knows that? The UN. And who also knows that? All those people who are backing Hamas and backing Hezbollah and who are backing Iran, they don't play by the same set of rules. The only rule they play by is kill all the Jews. That's the rule they play by. So the attacks shook Israel to its core, prompting the formation of a unity government with one action item: to annihilate Hamas from the Gaza Strip. Hundreds of thousands of Israeli reservists, tanks, and other heavy equipment have been mobilizing and amassing along the Gaza border. As we keep saying, it's going to be a long campaign, and it won't be easy. It's going to be terrible and bloody and awful. As Hamas has tens of thousands of terrorists hiding in a vast network of caves, most of which lie under civilian buildings, because they don't play by the same international rules. The airstrikes and artillery salvos have been more intense, but one detail that could indicate a full invasion is underway is the use of helicopters, which will be needed to constantly provide air cover to the IDF forces as they navigate treacherous terrain in Gaza. Some U.S. officials do see these current Israeli operations as a rolling start, so to speak, to a full-scale invasion. Journalists have now been warned their safety can no longer be guaranteed. Good luck, y'all. Be careful. Be careful. This is from CBS News. Israeli military said Friday its ground forces were expanding their activity in Gaza, in what may be the beginning of a new phase of Israel's war with Hamas, which started nearly 3 weeks ago. Israel Chief Military Spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagre said in a statement, the IDF increased attacks in Gaza Strip in recent hours. In addition to the attacks that we carried out in recent days, ground forces are expanding their activity this evening. The IDF is acting with great force to achieve the objective of war. The extent of the expanded activity was unclear, but 2 U.S. officials tell CBS News this appears to be a rolling start for the ground invasion. It comes as internet and phone services collapsed inside Gaza under heavy bombardment, the AP reported. Paltel, the Palestinian telecommunication company, said there was a complete disruption of all communication and internet access because of the bombardment. The invasion is coming. The end of Hamas is on the horizon, and the fallout will be severe. Israel will face war on all fronts. But we've read the Bible, and we knew this was happening. You also know that Israel eventually wins, right? All right. Well, in other news, that's such a cliche, statement. Well, in other news, the search for Robert Card has come to an end. We talked about this yesterday of the last video. The man suspected of killing at least 18 people, I think it's 22, in a mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine, was found dead. And what did I tell you? They would find him and he'd be dead. Card's rampage began Wednesday night when he attacked two locations, a Schmed Schmemingi's, I don't know how to pronounce this word, bar and grill, and a spare time recreation, which is also known as just in time. It's a bowling alley. A youth bowling league was underway when Card opened fire. Lewiston was locked down as police had apprehended Card. Other towns and cities also came under shelter-in-place orders. Card's vehicle, his car, was found in Lewiston by a boat ramp, which prompted some to speculate that he had escaped by watercraft. The Coast Guard was deployed in the manhunt. Federal, state, and local law enforcement followed up on all leads. Card's house was surrounded by police yesterday, but was found empty when law enforcement breached his home. A letter was found, which some officials described as a suicide note. Now, I told you that this dude would not be found alive. That when even if they found him, that he would put a bullet through the top of his head, and that's how this was going to end. Well, 2 days after the shooting, the hunt is over. Card's body was discovered Friday night. He died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That's according to NBC 10 Boston. This is a report from them. The man suspected in Wednesday's massacre that killed 18 people in Lewiston, Maine, has been found dead, sources told NBC 10 Boston investigators Friday night. Robert Card was the subject of a days-long manhunt that followed mass shootings at the just-in-time recreation bowling alley and the Schmeggies. I'll have to know how to pronounce that bar and grill. Specific details were not immediately available, but multiples told the NBC 10 Boston investigators that there was no longer a threat. 4 senior law enforcement officials told NBC News that Card had been found dead. Now, here's the deal. This dude knew. He knew that he was insane, crazy, demonically oppressed, that he was demon possessed. He already knew. He knew. And when he was in the psych ward this summer, he tried to tell people. But how we do mental health these days is based on insurance and the like. So 14 days. Here in this area, we call it Baker acting. When someone is a threat to themselves and others, or deemed a threat to themselves or others, we can Baker act them, which means that somebody finds them and they put them in the psych ward for 3 days. So as long as you can Baker act somebody. But in that time, if you are good if you're good at the game, then you can maybe get them committed longer to a psych ward. The judge has to agree, so you have to have your ducks in a row. And there are a few rehab centers and the like, psych centers, private psych centers that you can go to. Now, most of the time, unfortunately, a lot of these people just end up in jail. They end up in the psych part of the jail, which may or may not do them any good. What happens is that they get put on medication. And usually that medication continues to depress them into levels that when they do eventually get out, they do hurt somebody, themselves and somebody else. That's what normally happens. Card was reportedly part of the Army Reserve and he trained firearm instructor. There is no motive at this point, but he was suffering from a severe mental breakdown. Yeah, he had a psychotic break, which included hearing voices and making threats to shoot up a National Guard base in Saco. Card had previously been committed again to a mental health facility in the summer of 2023 for 14 days. But praise God, the threat is over. He has been found, and he's dead. It's awful all the way around. All right, until we see you again My name is Willie Lawson. This has been the Mona Report. Again, a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.